In the United Kingdom, the 5th of November is called Fireworks Night, a name that has taken over from Bonfire Night, or, in the past, Fawkes Night. This tradition has changed over the years, with less history, fewer bonfires, and a concentration on the fireworks themselves. The celebration was originally a Thanksgiving Day for the survival of King James I after a failed attempt to assassinate him. The purpose of the Gunpowder Plot in 1605 was to kill the Protestant king and replace him with a Catholic head of state. Guy Fawkes was discovered guarding the explosives that had been placed beneath the House of Lords, and he and his accomplices were duly executed. The king gave permission for celebratory bonfires to be lit, as well as the holding of Thanksgiving services in churches, an act being passed in Parliament called the Observance of 5th November Act 1605. In the centuries since then, effigies of Guy Fawkes have been made and burned on the bonfires, and other characters occasionally added, depending on who or what was seen as the current threat to the status quo. During my early years, we would save up all the combustible rubbish for the day, keeping it as dry as possible. The week before, children would ask their families for old clothes with which to construct their dummies. Old coats, trousers, and socks would be stuffed tight with newspapers. The head might be made of an old pair of nylon stockings, and a mask drawn on paper or cardboard to represent the face. Or one could buy a moulded paper mask, which children often wore themselves before the event. A hat for the head would hide the ball of newspaper. A pram or pushchair would be borrowed, or a cart made, so that the guy could be wheeled from pitch to pitch, the most favoured being outside the larger shops, or near railway stations or bus stops at the end of the afternoon, due to the numbers of people passing by. Every passer-by would be asked, penny for the guy, and the best guys might receive more than a single penny. This was more a boy's exploit as far as I was concerned, but I was always interested in proceedings and results. Money obtained would be saved up to buy the fireworks, and I think watching the coins mounting up in the collecting jar gave just as much pleasure as seeing the fireworks burning. as well as the excitement and anticipation. The children enjoyed the realization that monetary reward followed on from hard work, creativity, and inventiveness, and all this gained by reusing stuff that would have been thrown out. In those days, single small fireworks were sold, as well as larger boxes with a mixed selection. The names were quickly memorized: Roman candle, Vesuvius, molten lava, golden rain, silver fountain, jumping jack, crackers, bangers, Catherine wheel. The brightly illustrated fireworks in the shop's glass case were ogled, read and reread over the week, and decisions which to purchase were mulled over and rehashed many times. I think the general consensus would be one of each if possible, and then extra bangers if cash permitted. Every one of them had the instructions: light the blue touch paper and stand well back, or retire immediately. On the night, adults would dispense them one at a time from a fireproof box, such as a metal bread bin with tight-fitting lid. Several empty milk bottles would be half buried at the end of the garden, from which to launch the rockets. My favourites were always the sparklers, as it was the only one that could be held. I disliked the bangers, which were all sound and no light, but my least favourite was the jumping jack, because not only did you not know where it was going to jump, but you also had no idea when it had finished. Sometimes a stray one would give an extra last jump, just when you thought it was safe to get closer. They would find me standing behind an adult, asking where it was now, and straining my eyes for the glimmer of light that showed it had not yet finished burning. A firework that failed to light was called a damp squib, but investigating this was a matter for adults, as it could suddenly come to life just as the person was applying another flame to it. A squib correctly refers to a small explosive device or firecracker that is used as a detonator, and therefore not designed for display, and which originally needed to be kept dry in order to work properly. On the morning after, the air reeked of smoke, as did yesterday's clothes. The sooty remains of fireworks littered the garden, with the beautiful illustrations in shreds, although one might find a postage stamp-sized piece still attached to a stump. Sticks from the rockets could be found lying around the streets. All the splendour of the night before was now cold grey ashes on a still, damp November morning. At the time, we had no camera to record the event, and I suppose that we probably enjoyed it more without the distraction of trying to record and capture the displays. As single fireworks sold to children became less prevalent, so did the construction of the guy, along with an increase in the suspicion that any coins given would be spent on other items, especially ones that one would not want to be responsible for encouraging. Public firework displays to celebrate Fireworks Night became more common, and it seemed to make more sense to attend those and see a very much larger display of pyrotechnics for our money. Bonfires have been used throughout history to bring people together, and a large crackling bonfire is almost like a firework itself, with the plumes of sparks rushing skywards with the smoke. They have been used for funeral pyres, religious ceremonies, and beacons. Whether one is just disposing of rubbish, or as the centrepiece of a celebration, a bonfire derives its attraction from being an act of defiance against cold and dark. It gives the same sense of control and security that one gets from having a real living fire in the great indoors, providing warmth, light, a rosy red face, an endless supply of hand-toasted bread, and a captivating way to overcome the discomfort of a gloomy winter evening.